if we had to, we could have a meeting without an anchor location. And so with the governor's new mandate that he's had, you know, with the face, everyone has to wear a mask and all of that in the last little while here. The mayor has gone ahead and issued that. So that our attorney wrote that statement up, and the mayor, you know, the way it works is we have to announce it ahead of time that it's going to be digital. And then the chair has to read that statement at the beginning of the meeting so that we can be in compliance with the governor's mandate. Okay. But technically, we're supposed to have an anchor location unless we issue this declaration.
There's our mighty leader.
There she is.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. If it got confused with my Zoom link or what. I kept trying to go in and it wasn't letting me. So we'll go ahead and get started then. Goodness. Austin, do you want me to read that now, or do we want me to do the opening first?
You can just do it as like the first item of business. Or,
okay. All right, great. Yeah. Okay, so welcome everyone to Planning Commission meeting for Alpine City on November 7th. And we're all remote and also broadcasting on Zoom. I mean, not on Zoom, on YouTube. So we have with us tonight, John McKay of Planning Commission, Sylvia Christiansen, Ethan Allen, Ed Bush, Troy Slade, Alan McDonald, and I'm Jane Greiner. And we have from the city with us, Jed Muhlstein, the city engineer, and Austin Roy, the planner, and Fox. And we will go ahead and start with an opening prayer by Sylvia, and then Ed, if you'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our most gracious Father in heaven, we are so thankful for the opportunity we have to serve the city of Alpine in this manner. We pray that we'll be blessed to know what to do to best serve the citizens and to help the people who are developing their properties become successful in doing so. And we ask you to please bless our nation and our state and our city as we fight this awful pandemic, and we pray that your blessings will be upon all those who are suffering. And we say this in Jesus' name, amen.
Austin, are you getting a flag for us, or we?
Yes, sorry, one second. I'll pull up the flag.
Thanks.
Austin needs 4 arms, I think.
I feel like I'm juggling.
Okay, and if everyone but Ed will mute yourself, then we won't have a lot of echoing going.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, so just at the beginning of the meeting here, we need to have one item of business that we'll cover. Let me pull this up here. Sorry. Okay, so we just need to read this mandate. So basically, this says a written determination regarding the need for electronic meetings without anchor locations. So that means none of us need to be in City Hall to hold this meeting. Due to the seriousness of the current worldwide COVID-19 pandemic, the rapid spread of the infection throughout Utah and its potential deadly and life-altering effects, I, Jane Greiner, as chair of the Planning Commission, have determined that conducting an electronic meeting with an anchor location presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present at the anchor location. Accordingly, pursuant to Utah Code Section 52-4-207, Section 4, the electronic meetings will not be required to have an anchor location at this time. Written determination will expire 30 days from the date that this is signed, which was the 16th. Does anyone have any questions about that? Okay. All right, well, let's just go ahead and move right into our action items. And so the first thing that we are going to have is a public hearing for the concept plan for, and I'm not sure how you say this, Corowan Court subdivision. And so we will have that introduced to us first, and then we will go ahead and do the public hearing. Austin, can you tell?
Jane, before you start, should you be asking Austin if there's any other public comment before?
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I skipped over that. Also, Austin, can you, I haven't looked on YouTube to see if anyone is watching on YouTube for comments. So I'll pull that up as well. Austin, have you received any public comments on any items that are not on the agenda, or if anyone present has comment of items that are not on the agenda?
Let's see. I've only received one public comment, and it is on an item that's on the agenda. So
Okay.
There are 6 people watching on YouTube.
Okay.
And so we can wait and see if they want to make a comment.
Okay. Let's just keep an eye on that. If anyone who's watching would like to make a comment on an item that is not on the agenda tonight, then you can go ahead and type that comment in the chat on YouTube. Let's go ahead, and if that shows up, we'll come back to it. And so, Austin, are you going to introduce this concept plan, or is Jed?
I can introduce this item. So yeah, there will be some stuff that Jed will introduce later tonight. Okay, so this is a and again, you don't know how to say it. I don't know how to say it. I'm not sure.
I'm just calling it.
If anyone knows how to say it.
Corowan
Court subdivision. So let me go ahead and just pull up I'm going to pull up the county map here to kind of give you an idea of where this is located. Can you see that on your screen?
I don't see a county map. I just still see the planning commission meeting.
Okay.
So you might have to share. It might be the window that.
Let me try this again.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. I think this should work. Okay, do you see the map now? Hopefully.
Yep, now you can see it.
Okay, so this is Corowan Court that's highlighted in yellow here. So this is Main Street, just to kind of give you a frame of reference. And so over here, this is where City Hall is. If we head north, this is 200 North. So here's Purple Mattress Factory. And over here, this is where Corowan Court is located. So it's at the far north end of Whitby Woodland subdivision. So that's this area here that you see on your screen. And it's
the access from Maine is not finished yet to that road, right?
From Maine, no. Yeah, so this connection here does not.
I just wasn't sure if this was current. Thank you.
That's a good highlight because I believe that is, and Jed can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's part of our street master plan is to eventually have a connection through there.
That's
so
correct. Eventually,
right? Yeah. So what this proposal is it's a piece of land that's 8.4 acres, and they're looking to subdivide it into 3 lots. So there'd be 3 relatively large lots ranging in size from 1.5 acres up to 4.3 acres. And so let me go ahead and just pull up the concept here for this so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so here we go. So this is that same piece of land that we were just looking at on the other map. And this is kind of the concept that they're presenting here tonight. So a couple of things worth noting here. So these lots, this property is located in the CR 20,000 zone. So minimum lot size, 20,000 square feet. Obviously, with the smallest lot being 1.57 acres, all of these lots exceed that minimum lot requirement. So they're good on that front. As far as the width of the lots, the area of the lots, they are good on both of those requirements. looking at these lots, you will notice, you see all these little squiggly lines on each lot here. That represents the amount of slope in the lot. So each line is a elevation contour line. The more lines you see, the greater the slope is. And so this middle lot here, lot 78, has a lot of slope on it. Where they've shown the house on here has a great deal of slope, and it looks like it would exceed the buildable area requirement, which is 20%. You have to have a 20% or less slope in the buildable area. And so they'd have to rework that where the final footprint of that home would be. The other two are okay. They look like they're fine as far as that buildable area requirement is concerned. All of these lots would be single family dwellings, so they meet the use of the zone. It is up against kind of a wooded area, hillsides, which according to the fire chief's checklist would classify this as a wildland interface type of an area. And so they would have to meet some of the requirements there. And so let me just, I'm going to go ahead and just read some of the things here from the fire chief. So the fire chief notes that lot 78, again, that's the one up here in the north, exceeds the distance allowed for fire access. And so he goes on to say, however, they can be given an exception if they meet a series of requirements. And he goes on to list a series of requirements. So first, that fire sprinklers would have to be installed inside the home there. Two, a 20-foot wide fire access road would have to be constructed within the 150 feet of the furthest point of the from the furthest point of the structure. A fire hydrant would be required within 250 feet of the structure, and then they would have to assure that fire flows would be in accordance with the International Fire Code there. So it is possible to build there, but they do have to kind of jump through a few hoops, which, you know, is something that can be done. It's just they have to make sure that those things are brought into compliance to be able to build on that lot there. Another thing worth noting here is, so we did a few months ago adopt a new ordinance, which made it so we don't allow, we're trying to prevent flag lots. And so the ordinance that we created made it so that you couldn't have a lot with more than 5 sides. And again, we're looking at this lot 78 here. It has more than 5 sides. And so they would need an exception for that. The idea was we didn't want to have a lot behind a lot and not have a lot for a lot that doesn't have any frontage. This lot does meet the frontage requirements. It is a large piece of land. It's kind of tucked away there. So I don't know, but they would need to have an exception in order for this lot to work.
Hey, lot or Austin, they would require the exception on lot 77 also.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right, because kind of funky borderlines, yeah.
Yeah, that ordinance is kind of difficult when you have lots where you have a boundary that you are bound to, such as this. But yeah, we can talk about that later.
Yeah. Let's see if I have anything else here. So, okay. So, I mean, that's from a planning standpoint, that kind of covers it. I know that Jed has some more stuff to talk about.
Yeah, and we can stay on this screen for a second. Actually, I think I will try to share my screen.
Let me make sure. I might have to activate the screen sharing. Hold on one second.
All right.
Okay, you should be able to share now.
Okay, we'll try this. Can you see that map?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll talk from this map for a minute. So from the engineering side of things, at the concept level, we take a broader view at the utilities just to make sure the area can be served by utilities. We also look at sensitive lands like geologic hazards, floodplains, things like that. So since I mentioned floodplains, I briefly mentioned floodplains in the report, but I didn't highlight it as much as I should. We do have a designated floodway and floodplain for Fort Creek that runs through the east side of their property. And so as it moves forward towards final, we would need an easement over that area because we're not going to allow any building within that area. In terms of utilities, there are existing utilities at the end of Whitby Woodlands Drive, which the development can connect to. And I should back up a little bit and just mention that Horrocks engineers, they maintain the city's water and sewer master plans or water models for the city. And anytime we get a new development proposed for the city, we have Horrocks engineers run the model for that development to make sure that fire flows can be met and the minimum pressures for both culinary and pressurized irrigation can be met, as well as the sewer system also. And so Horrocks engineers did run that model on this development, and sewer has plenty of capacity. It will work. The same goes for the pressurized irrigation. The culinary water, on the other hand, is a little bit more difficult for this development. This development is on the high end of the pressure zone. And what that means is when a development is on the high end of the pressure zone, that's where you have the lowest pressures. If you're on the low end of the pressure zone, that's where you'll find the highest pressures. And because of that, there actually is not enough pressure to serve the development with just the single 8-inch water line connection at the end of Whitby Woodlands Drive. And so they proposed two options to be able to make it so it would meet the minimum pressures for fire flow. And one of those options is to complete a master planned water line that will go from 600 North Street over here to Main Street. And if that option is unattainable, that would be the staff's number one option. If that option is not attainable by the developer, the number two option is they could upsize the existing 8-inch line that exists in Whitby Woodlands Drive to a 10-inch line, but they would have to come clear down here to the intersection of what is Glacier Lily Drive and Whitby Woodlands Drive. If they upsize the water line from there up into and through their development, they would actually have adequate fire flow and pressures. There's more details than that written in the Horrocks report, which we would look more closely at preliminary, but that's kind of the gist of what's going on there.
Ed, can you re-explain the first option? Because I don't see how the first option solves the problem, the one the staff prefers.
The first option solves the problem by providing another way for water to get to the development. If we connect Main Street to the 600 North, you now get water coming from this way to the development as well as from the south to the development.
Thank you.
So yeah, right now, if you open this fire hydrant at the end of Whitby Woodlands Drive, it's only able to pull water from Whitby Woodlands. But if you had that connection, you have kind of two directions you're pulling water from.
Okay,
And
so either way increases the water supply, either two lines feeding into it or a bigger line feeding into it.
correct, yep.
Thanks.
So also worth mentioning, this red dotted line running through the development is the Westfield ditch. And according to our development code, anytime we have an irrigation ditch that runs through a proposed development, the development code requires that ditch to be piped. And so they would need to provide a piped design through their development. And so, yeah, there's not much more to say about that. We'll get more detailed review of utilities at the time they submit for preliminary. And so I mentioned geologic hazards. The subdivision is situated in an area of where the city's hazards maps show a potential for geologic hazards. And so the developer did have, let's see, what's their names? Gordon Geotechnical Engineering. They did perform a geologic hazard study. They looked at earthquake, rockfall, debris flow, flooding, and slide hazards for the site. And none of these were found to be a concern for the site, which is, I'm sure that was news or good news for everybody's ears. Alpine City standard specifications do require that the geotechnical reports specify the on-site soil structural stability value, which is called the California bearing ratio. Now, I know nobody, well, I shouldn't assume that nobody understands this. You guys are smarter than anticipated sometimes. The California bearing ratio is simply a structural value that engineers use to design roads. That value was not listed in their report, so they will need to do that prior to, or do that along with their preliminary submittal. Let's see, I wanted to jump to, I think it's page 13. So on this page that they submitted, there is an existing drainage easement that runs across this property. And that is because if I go back up here to this page, you can see that there is a ravine, a pretty ravine on the north side of Hillside Circle here that runs through the property. I was actually completely unaware that this easement existed. But what that means is there is an existent for if there is a big rainstorm or rain event, that easement is there for drainage waters to flow through and make its way to Fort Creek. I'm glad they listed that. We just need to be aware of that because they need to account for that as they move through the preliminary submittal. What I anticipate seeing is some kind of a culvert or a storm drain catchment system to be able to catch waters and flow it under or through lot 78 to Fort Creek. So that was good information.
Jed, is there a reason why that's so crooked?
I have no idea.
That's odd for something to flow that way. That's my curiosity.
Yeah, honestly, it makes zero sense for it to come to this point and flow up and go down. But that's us who have, I've never even seen this easement before. So I would love to actually get a hold of the actual document to see how it reads, because and maybe it was trying to go around an old farmer's field or something, but it'll be interesting to see that.
Logically, it looks like it could just go straight unless,
yeah,
obviously there's something we can't see on the map. But.
And I mean, how did it cross the Westfield ditch, which is right there, and get to Fort Creek? So anyways, nothing has obviously been done with that in the past because it has been left as opened, undeveloped property. But as it develops, they'll need to do something to kind of clean that up. I think that is about it as far as engineering is concerned. Most of the recommended items for conditions of approval from engineering all are things for the developer to do at the preliminary submittal. That I really have no concerns as far as the concept plan is shown. Other than I really don't know why we're naming them lots 76, 77, and 78. Where's 75 and all the way?
Well, I do have a question about lots. Why is the engineering and the geologic study done with 4 lots? It's done with a different structure.
So at the time when they originally submitted for the concept plan, that was the plan, was to have 4 lots, but there was issues with frontage and area requirements as far as our code is concerned. Our code actually will only allow 3 lots to happen on this piece of property.
Okay.
And so, yeah, they did the geologic hazards report before they knew that information.
Okay, and that doesn't change any of the information on the report.
No,
Okay.
no. And as far as slopes are concerned, I think there is a way to make every one of these lots work where they can shift the houses around and get them into areas where the buildable area will meet the requirements of our code. So yeah, they can make it work.
Okay, one quick question on that before we go into our public hearing. Does the slope of the buildable area is restricted to a certain amount? Is the slope or the percent of the lot that is under a certain slope also a restriction?
Yes. So the way our ordinance reads, anything if the average slope of the entire lot is greater than 25%, our ordinance actually classifies that property as unbuildable.
Mm-hmm.
So they would have to say, for example, let's take lot 77, which is right on the border there. The average slope of that lot's 24.2%.
Mm-hmm.
If it was 25.2, the developer would probably propose cutting off some of the property or giving it to the city as public open space or something like that.
Okay, so that lot 78 is okay. It's just that the location of the buildable area may need to be shifted so that that actual buildable area has the right amount of slope to it.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, well, we can discuss this a lot more here in a minute. So let's just go ahead and we will open the meeting for a public hearing on the concept plan. Sorry, I gotta go back up out of all my notes here so I can get to my to concept plan for Quorum Court subdivision. And if we have any feedback that's been sent into Austin, or if anyone on YouTube watching right now would like to make a comment. I did notice since we began the meeting that we've had a few people join us. And welcome to Will, Keith, Ryan, maybe, or Bree Hanson and Paul. So if anyone now has comment, let's start with anything emailed to Austin, and then let's go to anyone who's on the Zoom call that has comment, and then we'll go to the YouTube comments if there are any.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Jane. So we have received an email for comment on this, and this is coming from Loretta Stevens. She's located at 553 North Main Street. She comments, I would like to know the details of plans for stormwater in the proposed Quorum Court subdivision. Will it be collected in any way other than just the flow in curb and gutters? I own undeveloped property at the east end of 600 North in that neighborhood. I don't think my property is currently equipped to handle additional stormwater. Your consideration on this matter is greatly appreciated.
I can answer that question. So Loretta Stevens lives right here. Any development has to take care of its own stormwater. It cannot send any more stormwater downstream than pre-existingly flowed downstream. So that means this development will have to have some kind of on-site minor detention basin. I'm assuming it would be on the low end of the development. So I'm guessing on the low end of one of these two lots. So they catch the water. I'm just envisioning this here because we don't review storm drain preliminary. But what I would envision for this development is there's probably going to be some catch basins at the bottom end or the low end of the development that would take the water, collect it into some detention basin, and then release that at prehistorical rates downstream. And downstream could mean into Fort Creek, or potentially even into Westfield Ditch. We'll just have to review that in more detail at preliminary, but it would not impact the Loretta Stevens property.
Okay. Well, thank you. Hopefully Loretta's watching, or we can follow up with her with an email. anyone present in the Zoom meeting have any comments that they would like to make at the public hearing? Okay. And Austin, I don't see anything on YouTube. Do you see anything?
No, I don't see anything either.
Okay, so we'll close the public hearing and we'll move into discussion of this. Again, we're looking for, is this does not need to go to city council, does it? Don't we just approve concept?
You do, yes. So this will be you'll be approving it, not just, not
Yeah, so
recommending it.
just want to point that out to everyone that we approve concepts. They have to come back, as has been mentioned, for preliminary and several other steps along the way. We're just looking at this from a high level. So any discussion that you guys have or questions that were not previously answered?
Maybe this is a question for that Jed could answer and whatever. I can see from the map that's on the screen right now. Do we envision that we will have to put another fire hydrant into this development? Just
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, and actually, most likely, there would probably be one at the end of the cul-de-sac, and then just the distance from the end of the cul-de-sac to this northern house, there's probably going to be one up closer by where that house is anticipated to be also.
Okay, good question. I had a question on the comments that would need to be done to be able to meet the fire safety. Was that an either or was that an and when you mentioned the width of their driveway and the other requirements listed there?
So the fire chief's report says all portions, let's see, an exception can be met if one or both of the
one
following-
or both. Thank you. I missed that. So either one of those would meet it.
Yeah,
Correct.
he says it right there. If one or both.
Yeah, I missed that. Thank you.
So does the city pay for like the water main work and stuff?
No, if the development requires it, then they will have to pay for that. It would be considered an off-site improvement to make their development even be a viable development.
Mm-hmm. One question I had on the irrigation ditch, is that already under the street? Right up into the beginning of their development, that street is already paved, isn't it?
Yeah, and if you look closely here, you can see a temporary turnaround right there.
Uh-huh.
There is a culvert going under this street, but it's actually an open ditch from right here where it starts in Fort Creek. It's an open ditch from there clear to 200 North, which is off the map.
And so they only have to cover it in the area within their development. The question I have is when it goes off their property, so they only cover it in those two lots, and then as soon as it's off the property, after and hasn't made it over to the road open again? Yeah,
that would not be required of them to do. And you bring up a good point. I actually don't like that space right there.
That's weird.
It's not good to go from pipe to open ditch to pipe. Right. You tend to collect material and create clogging points.
Right.
That's something the city will have to discuss at preliminary.
Is that open space? Who owns that piece?
That's a good question.
Okay, because there's already that 112W.
Hey, Austin, can you share the county?
Yeah.
It might be private open space or public.
Yeah.
I have an answer.
Who's responsible for that? Keith, did you have a comment?
Yes. I did the engineering for Whippy Woodlands. And the Wisfield ditch, the city has an agreement with Central Utah Water that ditch needs to stay in operation forever, basically. And the reason When Whippy Woodlands did it, he created private open space and created an easement for that to be unpiped. However, it probably hasn't had water in that ditch for 20 years. And the reason is where it comes off Fort Creek on, can't remember his name, the property owner north of this Corome subdivision.
Hey, Ed, we actually fixed that and we have had water in it in the last couple years.
Okay, well, 4 or 5 years ago, it didn't have water in it, so.
Yeah,
But
you're right.
they could leave it open through their development if they created, in my opinion, an easement, and it is maintained. So it would probably be better if it wasn't piped and it could just be an open feature. But the main thing is you need, they would need to figure out if they want to pipe it or if they want to leave it open and have an easement, and it could be a part of a yard feature, or whatever.
So I
on the
don't
lots.
I don't want to create too much controversy here, Ed, but we've actually had quite a bit of trouble with the ditch staying open through the Whitby Woodlands development, with homeowners dropping leaves and yard waste into that ditch. I know at the time Roger really liked the idea of keeping that open, and because there are some benefits. It does provide recharge for our groundwater system. It also keeps some of the existing vegetation open. But overall, it's actually created more problems than benefits for the city in the past few years. When we fixed the upper end of this ditch, we washed a whole bunch of yard waste downstream and ended up flooding some properties on the south side of 200 North from all the debris that people had been throwing in there. And that problem has not stopped. They have continued to throw yard waste in the Westfield ditch ever since we've cleaned it up. So
But that's
would
not
actually-
a change. It's a management issue.
yeah, I would still propose that we pipe it so we don't continue to have more problems from more homeowners upstream.
Yeah, that's too bad. Okay,
It's
so
debatable anyway.
yeah, I could see the advantages to both, but like you said, if water isn't, if it's not managed, it's a problem. So we don't have to address that necessarily here at Concept,
Nope.
but I think we should find out who
On
owns
the
that.
map, Jane, that's listed as common property.
Yeah,
So
but I wasn't sure if that's like private open space, like if there's an HOA that is supposed to be maintaining that. Because, you know, if that, like you said, if it was part of the development and the HOA and it's supposed to be maintained as open, it's great if that's happening, but if there's a problem, then we need to look at who's managing it up above. So I would like to find out more about that when we come back on this.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Yes, Austin and Jed, maybe you can help refresh my mind why we don't like having so many breaks in our boundary lines. Like, we didn't limit it to 5 or something, because these are,
5 sides.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thought on that is usually a typical lot, let's just say your ideal lot is probably going to be a rectangle or a square. I mean, that's your average normal lot. So when you start getting more sides to a lot, it's it can be from a number of different things. Either there's some kind of a artificial boundary there with neighboring properties, which is the case in this scenario, or there could be a natural features like a stream or a hillside or something where the property line was drawn along there. But you know, majority of the time, those when you're doing more than 5 sides, it's because you're trying to work around an existing lot. And so the idea was we wanted to prevent flag lots, which would be a lot that does not have frontage on a public road. It would have a narrow private driveway to a lot that's behind another lot. And then, you know, so the flagpole, if you will, is the private driveway. And the flag is the lot itself, which is located back behind some other properties. And so the idea was adopting that ordinance, it would prevent flag lots from being created in the city, which is something the city council did not want to see.
Now, Sylvia, it also prevents, because you can see how each lot has to have a certain percentage of slope. So if a developer was very creative with lot lines, then they can get lots in where you really don't want a lot line or a fence or anything that really follows that. You end up with, kind of a mess. And so it prevents, unreasonable lot shapes just to get more lots in.
So is city staff okay with
Hillside.
these lot lines then?
So the developer really doesn't have any choice in this situation. That is the parcel of ground he has to work with.
Yeah.
To me, this is the perfect example of a situation where an exception could be granted. So I'm glad the exception language is in there.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
and I
what I
would agree
wanted
with
to
that.
know. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, Jane's point brings up a good point. So like, if they had owned, let's say they owned all of the land that's that open space. Let's see on the screen here. So if they owned this, this area here, I guess I can't highlight it, but this area, if they own that and they could draw this line here themselves. What we've seen developers do in the past is they will work around the contours. So they will do some really, like if the hillside is here, they'll go all the way around the hillside and make all these different sides to the lot, kind of working around the slope of the lot. And so it creates this really funky, weird lot. And then they're able to build in an area that they normally wouldn't be able to build. And so
Mhm.
to protect hillsides, we want to protect the hillsides.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mostly I just want to know what staff's opinions were. So thank you.
And so the actual property, every speck of his property that he owns is in these 3 lots. So there's no like open space or anything else. So. Okay, does anyone have more questions, or we need more questions, or we need a motion?
I have a question on the
Mhm.
water line connection to Main Street. Are easements already in place to allow that to happen?
No,
So they would have to go secure those.
yep.
Will staff be able to determine which of those, or is that the developer's choice, whichever they would like to do?
I mean, the most we could do at this point is just tell the developer which one we prefer.
Uh-huh.
But I don't think there's anything in the ordinance that lets us tell them or force them to do one or
Right.
the other.
Okay, and we don't have to know which one they've chosen to do at this point in time.
No, all we have to know is that it is possible to make this concept plan work.
Okay.
Jane,
Yes.
you had a resident named Keith speak. I didn't catch his last name.
Keith, it says Keith on his,
Just a second here.
Keith Gifford.
Keith Gifford. Keith
Thank
Gifford.
you.
Yes.
All right, thanks. And Kevin Tal has joined us, and Paul Croft. So, all right, any more questions on this or a motion?
Was
Are
Keith
all-
going to say something?
Are all
No.
of these engineering and fire provisions required for concept? Or what's the,
All of the engineering ones where it says at preliminary submittal, those are more or less for the developer to know he needs to do those. They technically don't need to be part of this motion.
They just give him direction for his next steps he has to take.
Correct. Really, the only one that needs granted at this concept level is the exception on the number of sides a lot can have.
And this can all be done in one motion, that you grant the exception and approve the concept plan.
Correct. Now, the exception does require city council approval. So when it goes to city council for, what's the word I'm looking for them just to know about it. They will actually have to approve the exception.
So is the exception a recommendation then?
Yeah.
So we're making a recommendation for an exception to the number of sides on the lot, and based on city council's approval, we approve it. It's kind of hard to approve it while there's a recommendation as part of it.
You could just reword that, basically
Okay.
saying you approve it based on, or assuming the city council approves the
Okay, so
exception.
approve it based on the developer obtaining approval from city council on the lot side exception.
Yep.
Okay. Some brave soul want to try or have an opinion and go ahead?
Okay, I think I've got it.
Thank you, John.
I'll make a motion that we approve the concept plan of Quorum Court subdivision, subject to our recommendation that we grant an exception to our flag lot ordinance regarding the number of sides that the lots may have on lot 77 and 78. Recognizing that a number of engineering requirements and fire safety requirements will need to be met when resubmitted for preliminary approval.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? A motion by John McKay. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, a second by Sylvia Christiansen. Discussion on the motion. Marla, do you want to read back the motion? Can you? Marla, if you're reading, you're on mute.
Oh, okay. John
Thanks.
McKay moved to recommend the Quorum Court subdivision concept plan be approved with the following conditions. Exception to the flag lots, number of sides on lot 77 and 78 with city council approval, and the fire safety measures be met.
Okay, that's good summary.
I think I said something about the engineering requirements also be met, fire and engineering requirements.
Fire safety and engineering in the same line.
Yes, be met when they return to preliminary. Okay, and I believe we've determined on these Zoom meetings, it's just easier if we do a roll call vote so that Marla can hear. So all in favor, we will say this time, no yays. I don't want to hear any cheering. John.
Aye.
Troy.
Aye.
Ed.
Aye.
Ethan.
Aye.
Sylvia.
Aye.
Alan.
Aye.
And Jane. Aye. So that passes, and we will move on to the next item on the agenda. So the next item we have on our agenda tonight is a public hearing for a revised concept / preliminary of the old Moyle Mound PRD. And so we need someone to introduce that, and then we'll hold the public hearing on that and go from there. So who's
Okay.
in that? Austin?
I'll take that one, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so the Old Moyle Mound subdivision is, let me actually pull up my map here. So this is a subdivision that's been developed a while now. And there are currently, I want to say 7 or 8 lots that have been developed in there. And so here we go. We can see. So this is the old Moyle Mound area. It's this cul-de-sac here. And so, you know, we can see that there are already several houses in here. What they're looking to do is adjust the number of lots and open space for this property. So the property is located in the CR 40,000 and this west end is partially in the CR 20,000 zone. But so it's kind of interesting that the zone actually kind of runs right through these properties. So it's in both of those zones. The total acreage for the Old Moyle Mound subdivision is 8.78 acres. It's currently platted for, or the preliminary was originally approved for 10 lots, and they want to adjust that down to 9 lots. And in so doing, when this was created as a PRD, they did dedicate a portion of it as open space. So you can see this area here that I just highlighted on the screen is some of the open space, and then there's some more open space here. So that was all dedicated as open space as part of their PRD approval. And so in order to get the 10 lots, they had to dedicate a certain percentage of open space, a certain acreage. But if they were to reduce this down to 9 lots, they would no longer need as much open space as was originally dedicated. And so as part of this proposal, they would, you know, in addition to dropping it down to 9 lots, they would also reduce the amount of open space to 25% of the original project area. Now, that being said, that would still meet our city ordinance requirements for a PRD. So now I'm going to go ahead and pull up here. This is, so on the screen here, you'll see at the top is the 2013 approved 10 lot preliminary, and highlighted in green are the areas of open space. And down here is the proposed revision. So as you can see, there's less green. However, there's also one less lot as well. And this would become a large, rather large lot. New lot number 9 would be 1.83 acres. So it'd be a new larger lot, getting rid of lot 10, but at the same time, they would also be reducing the amount of open space. Now, it should be noted that this reduction in open space doesn't negatively impact the area. So you can see that there is improved open space here on this map. They have like they have a tennis court. They have paths that go through here. So it's a nice developed piece of open space with improvements. And this reduction in open space would not impact any of that.
Is that private open space, Austin, or public open space?
It's private open space. So this is yeah, it's private open space.
It's actually gated, Jane. So just
Correct. Yeah, there are gates. So these access, you see these green access points, you can't, you have to go through a gate to get back into these areas.
Yeah, and I understand the purpose of PRDs, usually the city gets something in exchange, but in this case, it's just private for the development. I know this was done a long, long time ago. I'm just trying to understand the nature. Was the city gaining anything from the public open space that was shown there, or trails through it, or anything that affects the city at all? Just
well, so the city's gaining. So what the city gains is this open space. In general, open space is thought to beautify the city, and so we gain that. It should be noted that when there's a difference between private and public open space. So if you do public open space, you are granted a greater density in your PRD developments. You can do smaller lots, more lots. If it's private, that density is reduced. So you can't get as high of a density. And so there is kind of you get a greater reward, if you will, if you dedicate it as public open space.
I just want to make sure that the original approval on this wasn't based around any portion of this open space that we're removing.
So the original approval, the base density for this development was 9 lots. So with the minimum amount of open space provided, no bonus at all, the base density is 9 lots. And that's actually what they are proposing to go back to.
Okay. Thanks, that clarifies it for me. And there are no trails or any kind of city access that we are losing.
Nope.
No.
All right, sorry, Austin, go ahead.
Austin, I did have a question on open space. When I was looking at the proposed revision, that crossed hash space, which says proposed additional open space, what does that mean? Is
Yeah.
that going to be in the open space or not in the open space?
So that would be part of the open space.
When
The
they
reason why it's kind of crossed out is you'll see this boundary line here where my mouse is moving is
Mhm.
different than up here. So you see how it's just a straight line?
Oh, I see. And also that lot line looks like it's been readjusted.
Yeah.
Also, okay.
Yeah, so it's changed, some's
Well, it's
increased.
just- yeah, we're just highlighting that difference there. So the plan, the HOA does have a plan for that piece of land there. I believe they're thinking about possibly pickleball courts or something like that, but again, it's private, so it's just for these residents here that are part of this HOA.
Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to lead in there before we go into the,
I think those are the big highlights. Yeah. So I mean,
Okay.
it's really just those two things. Yep.
okay, great. Okay, so we'll go ahead and open the public hearing on this, let's see, revised concept. I'm assuming that this was already a preliminary, and so we're doing a concept and a preliminary all in one tonight?
No.
Yeah. Technically, we're revising the original concept at the same time that we're also revising the preliminary. So we
Okay.
kind of have to update both of them, if you will.
Okay, so we'll update both of them, but it needs to meet the standards of a preliminary.
Correct. Yeah. It's really a preliminary plan, and that's
A
the
modification, okay.
modification. Yep.
Yeah, okay, so let's go ahead and open this. So what we'll do first, we'll follow the same order that we did before. If Austin has received any emails regarding this, then he can read any public comments that have been emailed in. Then we'll take any public comments from anyone who's actually on the Zoom call with us right now. And then we'll watch for any public comments for anyone who's on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube and want to make a public comment, go ahead and be typing that in now. By the time we get around to that, we'll be able to see it because of our delay. So Austin?
Okay. So emails, we do not have any email comments. And so, yeah, nothing was received.
Okay. Is there anyone on the Zoom call who would like to make a public comment on this item?
I would.
Okay, go ahead. State your name and your address, please.
I'm Ed Gifford, or Keith Gifford, and I did the original engineering for Lon Neal on this subdivision.
Can you just state your address? We have to have.
Okay, 6163 West, 9600 North, Highland, Utah.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
003.
Procedures, Okay, go ahead.
Okay, that map, if Austin would put the map back up that he had of the comparison of the two. It's important to note that some of the property is still undeveloped of the original preliminary, lot 8 and lot 10 of the original preliminary is still undeveloped. That's why as Lon Neal lives on lot 9, he's built a home. Lot 10, on the existing lot 10, is a barn. That was a structure there that was there before the subdivision was ever developed. As the years have gone by since Lon has developed the majority of the property or platted it, he's put improvements, or he's used this more as a part of his existing lot. And so he's realizing, I don't want to keep this as a future lot and take the barn down because of the way he's functionally using his property.
Okay.
And the other thing is, and this is a personal thing, he's thinking about putting pickleball courts on the west side of the barn, which would compromise the total open space that was contemplated for 2013. So what he would like to do is still be within the ordinance, have 9 lots. He wants to combine lot 9 and 10 of the original preliminary into one lot. So that's the way all the improvements, development improvements are in. So really to do a preliminary plat really doesn't need to be done in the traditional sense, since all the improvements have been made, sewer, water, street.
Right.
And I might note that the center cul-de-sac area, that was developed as public open space. And I don't know if any of you have been through this area, but it's been done very nicely. I don't know if any of you have walked down into the private open space, but originally it was going to be a 3-foot path with dirt. Now it's a 6-foot wide sidewalk that meanders through the development. They've improved the open space with grass open area, with a tennis court. And so generally, sometimes with open space where it's 25%, they just keep it natural. This development has been done in such a way that it's quality. And reducing back to 9 lots and reducing the open space does not hurt the existing homeowners, because principally they're all backed up to what's existing open space. Now, if I can make one comment, is that when lot 8 is developed on the proposed 9 lots, then he will plat 2 lots and then plat the remaining open space, which is in crosshatched area. So that total area represents 25%. So Lon probably will end up final platting this property within a few months. He's considering the financial advantages and disadvantages of that. He cannot get on Zoom. I talked to him before the meeting, but he's
having Zoom problems, huh?
For him.
Okay.
So I hope that gives you background.
That's great.
This is a preliminary request to reduce the open space and to do it as a 9-lot subdivision instead of 10.
Right.
And that's a simple request.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Okay, any other comments? Okay, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing portion of this, and it's open for discussion at this time now for the Planning Commission members. So do you have any further questions on this?
Jane, this is Ed. I'd just like to jump to the motion. I motion to approve the proposed revised concept preliminary plat for Old Moyle Mound PRD as proposed.
Okay, we have a motion by Ed Bush. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alan McDonald. Any discussion?
Question, is this an approval or recommendation?
Approval.
Okay, this doesn't have to go to, even though there's a change in public open or private open space, we don't have to send this to City Council?
No, it meets city ordinance and it's preliminary, which is approved by.
I just want to verify. Okay, great. Okay, so then let's just take a roll call vote. Alan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Troy?
Aye.
Sylvia?
Aye.
Jane, aye. Okay, so that passes unanimously, and we will move on to the next item on our action plan for the night here. So this is the final plat Ridge at Alpine Phase 4. We're going to review plans and make a recommendation on this one to the City Council. This is not a public hearing, but if someone present would like to make comments, as long as it's timely, we usually can take a comment or two if someone has something to add, but we will not be going into a public hearing portion on this one. So who's going to introduce this final plat?
I'll be happy to.
Did you want to take that, Jed, or?
Sure.
Just,
Okay.
Just as a note, this is Ed again. It does say on the subject, it does say public hearing, final plat. So just so.
Oh, so are we doing a public hearing on this? I'm just looking at the agenda.
So that on the cover sheet, that's just a typo. I apologize for that. Yeah.
Okay, just want to make
Okay.
sure.
Well, we'll make sure anybody who thought it was has a chance to make a comment then. So let's go ahead and have this introduced by Jed, and we'll take a look at this.
All right, so before you tonight is the final application for phase 4 of the Ridge at Alpine. It has been through the Planning Commission many times previously over the past few years. With it being phase 4, you can see the map here. Obviously, phases 1, 2, and 3 have already been through the approval process. The overall development is on 189.5 acres with 72 lots, with this phase being 11.9 of those acres, 13 lots, and 2 acres of developed open space, which is the family park that we have discussed in the past. So just reviewing the general lot and area width, they all meet the development agreement requirements, which was they couldn't be smaller than 0.3 acres, I believe, or the average had to be 0.3 acres with no lot being smaller than 20,000 square feet, which it meets that. There are no trails proposed through this area. There is an existing building on lot 53, which I can't remember exactly which sheet shows that very well. Let's see if I can show that. As you can see, there is some existing buildings on lot 53. This is a home, and this is their garage, and there's a shed back here. So I actually don't know what their final, I'm assuming they're going to tear all of those things down and develop the lot with a newer modern home. But if they don't, the home actually would meet setbacks, and all they would have to do is remove or replace the garage in a place that did meet setbacks. Either way, that would be a condition of approval prior to recording the plat. They would have to either tear down that garage or provide a bond to do so, that it would be done in a timely manner. I'm kind of skipping over, or not really skipping over, some of Austin's things. I think I've actually covered most of the things he usually covers here, which at final are usually have already been previously covered. I'll talk about the landscaping here in a minute. Austin, did I miss anything in the preliminary stuff you would want to add to there?
No, just the landscaping stuff, which you can cover in a minute. So
okay, so moving on to more of the engineering things. Typically at engineering, it's pretty low key because we've already covered everything at preliminary. But in this case, there's a few things going on that we can discuss. So I'll come back to this sheet here. So with this phase being completed, we'll have another connection from Elk Ridge Lane to Grove Drive, which will be nice. You guys have probably already driven through the area and seen this connection from Catherine Way to Elk Ridge and Grove Drive, which I anticipate them getting final approval and putting this section into warranty sometime within the next, I'm assuming, month or so. And so I anticipate that road actually opening up for the public, which will be nice. This phase 4 will give us another connection. The more connections, the better on the interior parts of the city. So in talking about this connection specifically, something I wanted to discuss as part of the development agreement, it required the developer to provide funds for the completion of the improvements along Grove Drive. And that means, and what the developer was required to do was improve half the width of Grove Drive, which would be 15 feet of asphalt plus your curb gutter and sidewalk. And so their plans showed that. They showed the sidewalk and the curb and gutter ending here, and I'm assuming that the developer was anticipating to just provide the funds for the rest of those improvements so that they could all be done at the same time. But as staff has reviewed the plans, we're actually seeing no reason for these improvements to not go in right now. Matter of fact, I think we have a better argument that they go in right now rather than later. For the main reason that if a new lot owner comes in and buys lots 53 and 54, if they only have improvements on one side of their home, they really don't have a good delineation point to plan for the improvements on the Grove Drive side of their lots. And so a concern from staff would be that it would actually be more expensive for both the city and the landowner at a future time to improve that, because then we'd have to deal with readjusting whatever landscaping they have done along here. Also, there is a high point in the road somewhere around this point between 52 and 55, and stormwater actually flows back this way. So the developer is going to have to take care of stormwater improvements along here as well. And they would be in charge of taking care of the stormwater improvements along the full frontage of Grove Drive anyways. So again, there's two reasons there that we'd just propose for it to be done right now, to just pay for the improvements. Let's get it done now and move on. So that's one recommendation from engineering, is that rather than just providing the funds for these improvements, let's just adjust the engineering plans and let's just do it now. Moving on, I've already gone over all the utilities at preliminary, but there is a couple minor things to mention. With the culinary water, there is an existing water meter somewhere right about on this northeast side of lot 54 that just needs removed and terminated at the main line. And in terms of secondary water, there's also a 2-inch irrigation meter on this southeast side of lot 53 that also needs terminated at the main. I don't think those two things were mentioned at preliminary. And I don't think they even need mentioned in a motion, because I've redlined them on the plans, and the motion mentions red lines on the plans. In terms of stormwater, this was the original plan for the grading of the detention basin and our park. I want to jump to what is actually being proposed. And that is, and let me back up and give you a little bit of history here. So since the preliminary approval, Kevin Tal owns this property south of this detention basin and also the property line here. And since the approval, let me see if I can jump back to the page I was on before. So since preliminary approval, this is what was approved at preliminary. And it's kind of difficult to tell on this drawing, but these two lines that are close together, they actually represent the top of the berm of this detention basin. So this entire basin was designed to be 100% on the city's property, and which is the way it should be. And Kevin Tal had plans to fence his property. And he wanted to put, or when he looked at putting a fence along the property line of his property, you can see this line here. This line represents a storm drain line that outlets water to an existing ravine. So there is a ravine that runs in this property right here. And if you can imagine, this is kind of a high point, and this ravine drops down 8 or 10 feet and then climbs back up probably more than that, probably 20 or even more feet to get to the top of this hill. And so Kevin is envisioning what his fence is going to look like on that property line. And as the fence followed the terrain down the property line, it dropped really low, and this berm towered over the top of where his fence would be built. And so he's thinking, well, that's not going to do me any good. It's not going to provide me any privacy if someone can stand on the top of that berm and just look into my property. So Kevin Tell first came to the city and he proposed the idea of the city allowing him to put his fence on top of this berm. And after we as staff discussed this, we weren't too excited about that idea because number one, we really don't have any other places in the city where we've allowed private property owners to put their fence on city property. And Kevin also wanted to landscape the backside of this berm where the city didn't really have plans to do anything to the backside of the berm. We're going to just do natural seeding and then let it do what it does with natural seeding. Well, he wanted to beautify that a little bit, and there's two problems with that. One, again, the city doesn't have other places in town where we've allowed private landowners to landscape on our property, but also he doesn't have water rights to water that area. And so we relayed that information to Mr. Tell, and he came back with the idea, well, why don't we move the berm to the property line? And that way you can push your berm over onto my property. I will give you a slope easement for that berm so you can maintain it. That way he could put his fence on top of the berm. He could do some limited landscaping in here with the approval of the city, and he does have water rights to do that. And then on top of that, it actually widens the park by 40 feet. So I have another drawing where I show them back to back. I don't know if I have to share this one. Can you see the other screen I just clicked on?
No,
Okay, I think I have to stop sharing and then
yeah, either that or drag it over.
and then I have to share this one. How's that?
That's great.
I probably should have been talking from this one the whole time.
That's
Anyway,
right.
so this is the original one. The bottom width of the park area was 60 feet wide. And this is the proposed one. The bottom width of the park area is 100 feet wide. And honestly, it makes the park much more square and usable for the city. And in my opinion, this is really a win-win situation for both the city and Mr. Tell. We gain more area, a more usable park area. He's able to put a fence where it actually provides privacy to him and he can do some landscaping on the backside. And unless you guys see something I'm not seeing, I think it's actually a great idea. So what is being proposed tonight, if you, let me see if I don't want to skip down to the motions too quick here.
Yeah.
But in the motions, it's kind of, I hope it's not too confusing. There's actually two model motions. One is essentially for this option.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't like this option for any reason, the other model motion is for the original option.
Okay.
So I hope
So
that.
Jed, I was looking at these sample motions and they both say with pond bank moved, but I think the second one's supposed to be without pond bank moved.
That's correct.
Is that
I know-
right?
Yeah, I did notice that earlier today. That's a typo. The second one should say without.
Without.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so other than that, the rest of the storm drain system was like the other utilities discussed at length at preliminary. So I don't have anything else to say on that. I do need to mention this, that similar to phase 3, there is a section of our ordinance that says we cannot allow a developer to record the next phase of development if the previous phase's offsite improvements are not
Mhm.
completed yet.
Yeah.
The developer is still working on the Fort Creek booster system, which is part of phase 1's offsite improvements. They're actually really close to getting that completed. But it does need to be mentioned that phase 4 cannot be recorded until all of phase 1 offsites are completed or otherwise approved by the city council. Other than that, We have some of the typical things that we usually have at final. The water policy will need to be met. The development agreement specifically requires that Alpine Irrigation Company shares must be used to meet the water policy. There are some red lines on the plat and plans, and this actually goes back to Austin's comment on the landscaping. There is some landscaping trees that don't meet our tree guidelines, so that is redlined in there for them to adjust that. And then also the developer would be required to provide a cost estimate for bonding purposes. And other than that, I think that is about it. There is your sample motions for either option.
Okay, thanks for that introduction. So does anyone have any questions that we want to discuss here before? There's quite a bit here. So as far as the plat or these lots and everything like that, that's already been looked at, or is this I'm just trying to remind myself, okay, this is final. Yeah, I was gonna say, wait, we've done this multiple times, so just making sure what we have here. So we're making a recommendation, correct, for final approval?
Correct.
Okay, right. Questions, points of discussion?
I did want to say one thing.
Yeah.
These motions are really big.
Yeah.
Actually, I talked to our city attorney earlier today. We had a meeting with them. It is totally fine for the planning commission to make a recommendation or a motion that simply says, I motion to recommend the model motion as written. You don't have to read the entire thing if you agree with it as it is written.
Mm-hmm. Can you make a motion to recommend the model motion with the following changes?
Yes. Yep. That'll simplify things.
That'll help simplify it. Yeah. Kevin, do you have anything that you want to add? Okay. You're on mute still.
Is that directed at me?
There you go. Yes. Sorry, Kevin Cowell, do you have anything you want to add to that introduction?
No, I think Jed explained it perfectly.
Okay, great. And Paul, do you have any comments that you wanted to make? Paul Croft, sorry.
No, I think I'm really happy that we have a proposed solution that works with an adjacent property owner. I know a development next to adjacent property owner can always be a little delicate. So I think the towels are in support of this. We're in support of this. I think city staff is in support of it. So I like it when we have a win-win-win.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Jane?
Yes, Marla?
The question I had to Jed is, did he say that the city has a storm drain running through Kevin's property, or it was a sewer line?
There is an existing, I don't know if it is a ditch. It's called the Northfield Ditch that runs through their property. And that is what our storm drain system will drain to. But the way it is designed, it will not drain at any rates higher than historically flowed in the creek.
Okay, so
how will that be
you want me to
controlled?
call it a storm drain?
Well, it's a storm drain system on the rigid Alpine Phase 4. On the Tal property, it is an irrigation ditch.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And how is the flow controlled on that?
It is controlled through a slow release system in the detention basin itself. So water flows in the basin, and then there is essentially a small hole in a plate that allows water to slowly trickle back into that main pipe that was on that previous diagram.
Yeah.
So that would trickle into that pipe and flow through. Now, we kind of went over this at preliminary, but the Schoolhouse Springs will continue to flow through here as it historically has flowed through. And the Schoolhouse Springs starts way above this development and flows through. So the developer is passing that water through their development.
Okay. I know that this has been discussed before, but will you just remind me that the use of this park, is this just a green,
It's a family park.
it's a family park?
Yep.
And as far as like the water retention usage of it, do you have any idea of what type of flow we're gonna see there? This is just a curiosity. This has nothing to do with our motion, but.
It totally depends on how big of a storm you get. To be honest, stormwater calculations are not rocket science. I think there's a lot of factor of safety in there. Some of the storm drain ponds in the city will have a fairly large storm event, and we won't even see water get in the pond. And other ponds will see them fill completely full.
Right.
I really don't know how it's going to react until it's built and we watch it.
Okay. And do we have any kind of obligation or liability as a city to protect citizens from the water if that fills up, since it's actually designated as a park?
So to be honest, this is very common. Most parks are also detention basins.
Okay.
A lot of people don't realize that, but the park I live right by here in Heber City, it's a big hole in the ground exactly like this in phase 4. And every time it rains, it's a pond down there. And sometimes kids are playing in it.
I just wondered if the city has to do anything with insurance or anything when we do that. Just curious. I know they're super fun. We had one in one of our neighborhoods once, and we had to pull out the kayaks when the storm came.
Yeah.
Just
Hey,
wondered
Jed,
what that was from a city point of view. So, okay,
I thought you were done. Hey, can I ask a quick question?
go ahead.
Hey, Jed, I think I heard you mention that the flow of the discharge of the detention basin would not be greater than current flows from the schoolhouse spring. Is that correct?
Not necessarily from the schoolhouse springs, but from the area in total. So schoolhouse springs will naturally flow as it always has. And whatever water in addition to that flowed or that landed on the Zolman property, that is what is being reduced or restricted to not flow more than it ever has historically.
Okay, so
in other words, you really shouldn't see any difference downstream.
that was my main question. Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, planning commission members, any more questions or comments that you want to make? Otherwise, we need someone to make a motion.
Well, I would like to make a motion, but I just have one question
Okay.
about the bond. Do we need to change the part that says the developer submit a cost estimate to that he submit a cost estimate for procuring a bond? Is that what Jed said, because I don't see that the bond is referred to on there anywhere.
The third one from the bottom, I think it just says the developer submit a cost estimate. That's really all it needs to say.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, we know why we need it, so they just need to get it to us.
Okay.
I was wondering if Austin's received anything, associated with this.
On this, because it was potentially confused as a public hearing. Do you have any comments, Austin?
Nothing. I have not received anything.
Okay. Okay. So with that, let's just go ahead.
I have one more thing.
Go ahead.
Bullet number 6 needs to be revised, so we can't just accept the model motion as it reads presently. So whoever's going to make the motion, make sure we address that.
What bullet 6? Read bullet 6 to me.
I don't have it up in front of me, but it had to do with the developer to provide funds for the improvements on Grove Road.
Right.
So we need to change that.
We wanted to improve that now, but they still have to provide the funds for it. So they're still providing the funds, but we just want it.
No, we want them to develop
rather
it.
than future.
Yeah, we want them to develop it. So, and that one actually could get a little more tricky because the design of the roadway itself, it may not be the best to do only half of the asphalt right now. So maybe they do all the curb and gutter and just do an asphalt patch and then provide the rest of the funds for whatever asphalt is needed in the future. I guess what I'm saying is that one gets a little bit tricky. I'm not sure the best way to word that because we haven't seen a final design on that road yet. Because it could be they do it all now, they do half and half now, or the way it's written, they just give us funds right now, and I actually don't like that option.
Could we actually say that at a minimum, the curb and gutter and asphalt patch are done?
Yes, that would be perfect.
So I think that would cover it, because that way they can do more.
Yeah.
At a minimum, we have to have that for drainage and for those 2 lots to reasonably be put in usable. Mhm.
Yeah.
So does that make sense?
Yep, that'd be perfect.
Okay. And so we want to say, if you do use that, you'd say with the modification on bullet point 6 that it be changed to.
So, the bullet point prior to that actually says the developer address red lines on the plat and plans, which includes showing full frontage improvements for lots 53 and 54.
Uh-huh.
That actually covers it, but the next one could say the developer provide funds for any future improvements not built at this time on Grove Drive.
Okay. So when you say full frontage improvement, does that mean curb and gutter and the asphalt patch, or what does that mean? Okay, so that doesn't address their issue where they're going to improve Grove Drive.
Yes.
Yeah, the bullet before it isn't clear whether we're talking about inside the development or on Grove Drive.
Yeah, we could probably cross off both these bullet points and reword both of them to be more clear.
Okay. Although full frontage, meaning both sides of the lot, because those are corner lots, I think I don't know if that's what full frontage means, but it needs to be both sides, both street facing sides of the lot. So
we tried to combine the red lines into one thing here.
Mm-hmm.
What if we said the developer address red lines on the plat and plans, comma, which includes showing curb gutter and sidewalk for lots 53 and 54. So just cross off
to extend through Grove Drive.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now, Sylvia, do you still want to be the brave soul to try this one?
I'm going to try it. We might have to correct
let's go ahead.
Well, this is where I think you can say as written, except for,
right.
Let's
right.
reword these.
And just reword those 2.
Okay. And should I make sure I've got the rewording correct now, or shall we just stumble through the motion?
You can.
I'll try it.
Either way is fine.
So are we getting rid of 5 and 6 then and just rewording it into 1 with this change? Is that what we're doing?
You can do either
includes
one.
Showing curb, gutter, and sidewalk for 50 and 54, 53 and 54 to be expanded to Grove Drive.
Right. And then just the next one, you can just say the developer provide funds for any further future improvement or something.
Improvements,
whatever isn't done at this time, so for the additional future improvement.
Per the development agreement.
There you go.
Per the development agreement. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I think I've got it then.
All right.
I would like to make a motion then to approve the model motion, approve
the final plat.
Okay, thanks. I need to see the
actually,
name.
It's actually, you're actually making a recommendation. So you make a motion.
Okay, I make a motion to recommend approval
okay.
of the Ridge at Alpine Phase 4.
Mm-hmm.
With the model motion as written, but with the change to the 5th bullet point reading, the developer address red lines on the plat and plans which includes showing curb, gutter, and sidewalk for 53 and 54 to be expanded to Grove Drive. And the change on bullet point number 6 that says that the developer provide funds for any future improvements not built at this time per the development agreement.
Great. Okay, we have a motion by Sylvia. Do we have a second?
I'll second it, John.
Okay, we have a second by John McKay. And any discussion on the motion at this time?
Yeah, this is Ed Bush. We didn't mention that we want to move the pond bank on the property line.
Yeah, so she just needs to say she is doing the first model motion, not the second one.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, can we change that motion then to just say the first model motion?
Yeah, Marla, is that okay to just amend that to just add the word first in front of the word model motion without having to redo that?
Yes, I think that's fine.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll go ahead. Any further discussion? Good call outs. Okay, John McKay.
Second. Oh, aye.
Aye. Ethan
Who
Allen.
seconded it? Did someone say?
I did.
John seconded it. But
Oh, okay.
Just need to verify that I'm still
Sorry, I
second.
missed that.
so John McKay,
Aye.
Ethan Allen,
Aye.
Ed Bush,
Aye.
Troy Slade,
Aye.
Alan McDonald,
Aye.
Sylvia Christiansen,
Aye.
and Jane Greiner, aye. So that passes with the motion that was made by Sylvia. Nice job, Sylvia. That was a mouthful, and thank you to Jeff and Austin for putting together a model motion. When they really are complicated like that, it's really difficult for us to get them right without making mistakes. So really
And thanks to Ed for clarifying that we needed to say which model motion it was.
yeah.
I had that
That
in
is a
my
good-
mind, but I had a
good
lot of
point.
stuff in my mind.
Good,
so.
good point. Okay, the next thing on our action items is a site plan for Alpine Fitness. So who would like to give that introduction to us?
I'll go ahead and take this one.
Okay,
All right, so if you look at your screen, you'll see here highlighted is the property that's for review tonight. So this is a site plan review for a new building on this property. To the north here, you'll see this is Mountainville Academy. And then, of course, we have the roundabout here on the south end of the map. So just kind of give you a reference where this is. And then over here, this field that you see on the screen, that's the new townhomes that are going in the Montdella subdivision. So the business what's being proposed here is a new building for Alpine Fitness and Alpine Physical Therapy. So if we look at the screen here, we'll see there is an existing, and you might have seen this on the aerial image that was on the other screen. There's an existing building on the site there. It's kind of a garage type structure. So first and foremost, that structure would have to come down if the new building is to be built. And so kind of some history also on this property. There used to be a high powered gas line that ran through here. However, that was abandoned, and the landowner has since had that easement removed, and the gas line has been removed. So that no longer exists there. That was an obstacle for development for many years and no longer exists. So as we scroll down here, we can now see the site plan that's being proposed. So over here in gray is the proposed building footprint. And to the right, you'll see is a large parking area. So the amount of parking that you're looking at is 40 spaces. For the square footage of the building is 9,380 square feet. And per our ordinance, for the type of use of this building, which is a gym gym and physical therapy, they would be required to have 38 spaces. So they're providing 40, they exceed the required amount by 2 spaces. Part of that requirement are 2 handicap spaces, which you can see here below. Also, a little bit more history on this property. So this property has come to Planning Commission and City Council before, where exceptions were granted to for the footprint of the building. So typically in the business commercial zone, and this has changed in the last year, but we have setback requirements, and the setback requirements are now 15 on the front, used to be 30 feet. And in the past, we had 20-foot setback on the side. So anyways, last year he brought this was brought forth to the Planning Commission and City Council. City Council eventually approved a 2-foot setback on this north property line. And so that's why you see the building so close to the property line here. That was granted by the City Council. For reference, this is the dry creek here in between Mountainville Academy and this property. And then they were also granted an exception for a 15-foot setback. However, that's now our new standard in the business commercial zone. Other highlights here, let's see, is we did do some a land swap with the property owner. And this was also approved by the City Council to potentially grant access to this area along the stream here. So there is an access point here that's the city owns the property. They have the ability to access this land. And, we do have a trail on the other side of Main Street. So that should be mentioned. There is a trail there, part of the Montdella subdivision. If I go back to that other screen, and it doesn't, the trail goes along the dry creek. Let's see here. It kind of gums along and goes down and down this way. So it's a paved trail on this side, on the west side of Main Street. On the east side, they would have access through here to potentially continue a trail onward through here. Let's see what else. So overall, the site plan does meet most of our requirements here. So our site plan asks for things like location of the building. It has to meet setbacks. Off-street parking is required. And as previously mentioned, it exceeds the off-street parking. They are required to provide screening in between a residential property and a business property. So what that means is they have to have a fence, hedge, or other type of barrier in between a residential property and a business property. To the south, there is an existing home there. And there actually is already an existing, one of those concrete panel fences there. So, which acts as a barrier. They would need to on the west side, they would need to add a 4-foot hedge, which is shown here on the site plan, to continue that screening barrier in between the two properties. Landscaping, in the business commercial zone, landscaping, they are required to have at least a minimum of 20% landscaped. This site plan shows that they meet that right on the nose. So 20% exactly is what they have in all of this area here and around the perimeter that would be landscaped. It's exactly 20%. Trash storage. So typically most businesses in the business commercial zone, we might require them to have a dumpster or of some sort, or, depending on what uses they have. This being a gym, they would probably have a low amount of waste. And so, a standard garbage can that you would have at a home would probably be sufficient for the use of this business. So they wouldn't be required to have a dumpster on site here.
Even for a gym, even for the gym, you think?
That's what we've been told they're their anticipated use. You can add, the owner is online. You can ask them that question later.
Yeah, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
The height of the building. So we do have a height limitation, which is 34 feet. Let me go down to the elevation here so you can get a better idea of what this looks like. Okay, so this is a view from the north end of the building, but you can see this would be the tallest point of the building. So that would be on the corner of the building. Let me see if I have another picture here. So zoom in on this. Okay, so this is the west side of the building. this is the south elevation of the building. The tallest point that you saw on that other shot there is this front corner of the building. So it's kind of a, I guess you could almost call it a tower, but they have this architectural detail here where this triangular roof structure is. So that would be the highest point of the building. It's anticipated that the highest peak of that would be 34 feet, which does meet our ordinance. And then the rest of the building is underneath that height. So as far as design goes, so let's just scroll down here. And actually, maybe I'll stay on this elevation first. So if we look at the elevation here, they're doing a combination of 3 primary materials for the walls of the building. So stone, which you'll see here on these front pillars, going down in between the windows. This is all stone. And then it transitions on this far north end, this kind of lined material that you're seeing here, that would be a metallic siding. And then this kind of dotted area is stucco. So there would be stucco up above, kind of a detail along the top, stucco line in between the floors. And there used to be, actually, so this might be the old images here, and the owner can correct me in a minute. But so this actually has been done away with, so there wouldn't be stucco here anymore. It'd just be all metal, continuing from top to bottom. And so it does have a lot of windows, a lot of stone, and then stucco in between. The north elevation, let's see where my screen went. Okay, so the north side, this is the side that faces the creek. So Dry Creek. It's probably not, it's this side, you're not going to be able to see this from the road, wouldn't be visible. But it does have, some windows here. One interesting detail is these 3 windows here are garage doors, or glass garage doors that would open up and provide, fresh air in the warm months of the year and whatever to the gym there. So here, this is the stone that they've chosen to use, and we have actual samples of this at City Hall. With the electronic meeting, it's kind of awkward to, typically we have them bring in a design board and you can see these in person in the meeting. And so with the electronic meeting, it makes it a little bit awkward, but here's the stucco. This is the color of the metal siding, and then this is the stone that they plan to use. So one note on the metal that they're using, the Ezra Lee building does use that. So if you've ever seen that new Ezra Lee building, there is a portion of it that has a black metallic siding. It's the same material that would be used on this building, except this would be more of a gray, a lighter color, be more of a kind of a charcoal gray. The stone has kind of a texture to it. It has kind of a mossy, interesting texture to it. So, and it's my understanding that it was selected through a process of the gym membership. I guess they had a vote on this, and this is what the majority of the members of the gym really liked. And so they kind of chose this stone over other options. And then the last element, I guess, which I haven't covered yet, is the roof. So the roof is a metallic roof. And it's going to be a kind of a bronze colored, so kind of a brownish bronze metallic look up on the roof. Let's see what else we need to cover here. And then, so the fire chief does have some requirements for this building. So first of all, based on the size of the building, an automatic sprinkler system would be required to meet the fire code. So the entire building would have to be sprinkled. And the fire code it needs to be located within 100 feet of the nearest fire hydrant, and it appears to meet the fire hydrant requirements. So fire access, it's right on Main Street, so access isn't an issue. Fire hydrant's not an issue. They would need to add a couple more things here. So there would have to be an external door for the fire riser, and a knock box with a key would have to be on the side of the building to provide access for the fire department in the event of an emergency. And finally, the fire chief would just require that the final fire sprinkler drawings would go to a third party for review before this would be approved. That covers most of it here. There might be a couple engineering things that I'm missing if I didn't cover those, Jed.
Not much. So site plans for engineering is pretty low key. We do make sure that they adhere to the off-street parking ordinance. That requires that they have stalls that are dimensioned correctly. They have an all-weather surface of asphalt, which he does, and that the site is graded and they take care of their own stormwater, which they are. They also presented a lighting plan, which showed lights that would not shine on neighboring properties. And they had one red line comment because we have a new street light that we approved just a couple meetings ago. So they had one red line comment, and that was just to switch out the street light fixtures to our new dark sky compliant street light fixtures. Other than that, there is one building that currently exists on the site that needs to be removed. And Austin already mentioned the high pressure gas main. And the water policy's already been met for this site. So that's really all I have as far as the engineering goes. I actually should mention, I'm looking at the model motion. Our stormwater ordinance requires that when there is a private stormwater system on a site like this, that the developer or the owner of the property signs a stormwater maintenance agreement with the city. All that agreement does is ensure that the stormwater system is inspected and maintained annually. And so we would require that prior to them. Actually, we would require that at the time of the building permit.
Okay, is there anything else that you need to introduce? So we're looking at a site plan review, and we're making an approval on this, or a recommendation to approve.
Correct.
Recommendation?
Yes.
Sorry,
This is your recommendation, yeah.
this is a recommendation. Okay. Okay, so we can talk about any questions that the Planning Commission members have at this time.
Do we know what the proposed construction for this building is? Is it tilt wall or steel construction or framing?
Paul,
I believe,
want to answer that. So Paul Anderson is here. He's the applicant.
You're on mute.
Paul, do you want to answer his question?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep, now we can.
All right. It is steel.
Okay. One question I wanted to bring up. I know we've had a lot of discussion with different things that have gone in on Main Street. I think some of you were here when we did the Montadella approval and other buildings in that area, and that is that it's part of the Gateway Historic District. And so I just want to read a couple things here where it says, in the interest of preserving the character of the Gateway Historic District, it is necessary to regulate to a certain extent the new construction that is built there. New structures should only affect the district in a positive manner, not in detrimental ways. respecting the heritage of Alpine associated with the historical structures in the district, utilize approaches that have been shown to encourage sustainability of historic districts and neighborhoods. Some of the guidelines are to mimic details of older buildings, use similar materials, make mundane uses look good, include design features on blank walls. All new development projects should achieve a determination of design appropriateness from the Planning Commission. So in addition to reviewing this, part of the review process is a determination of the design appropriateness from the Planning Commission. New construction should respect and build on historical legacy of downtown Alpine and borrow historic features from the area. Should be designed for its specific context. Elements should influence the design of new development, including building form, massing, scale, materials, and colors. So anyway, I just wanted to, and it goes on, there's other things, I think everyone has looked through that. I just wanted to remind everyone that that's also part of this. If you have any feelings about the appropriateness for the Gateway Historic District, or questions about the roof line or the material used or anything like that, that because of the area where this is, that is a subject that you can bring up.
Yeah, I think the horse kind of left the barn without management of that issue when the Ezra Lee buildings went up.
They did a little bit, but the Ezra Lee buildings were definitely modified from their original structures. When they came in, I don't know, you maybe weren't here, but definitely were toned back from where they were. They were also a little farther off the street, but you can see the ones along the side that have the red brick. And, you know, there's a lot of features that they added to try to stick within the design. It doesn't mean it can't be more modern, but it should still have the elements that have some of that involved in it.
Yeah, Austin? Austin?
Yes, yes,
Do you have the video?
I do, yes.
Probably be better to play that, because what you have is just kind of old and it doesn't show how we dressed it up so they can see what it looks like. Just to let you know, we didn't pick the rock, the stone. We had, we took 10 different types of stone, and then we did a vote, a mail vote and an email vote. We had 1,500 participants. Of those 1,500 participants, we had 525 in Alpine. We limited it from 10 types of stones to 5 types of stones to 2 types of stones. And then the stone we picked was voted on 99% to 1% by everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Then we looked at the metals, the designs of the metals. We voted on the corrugated metal that Austin's got there at the city. That had an 80-20. We took the one that was 80% that people voted in. The style is the newest style of metal. We voted in the colors. The colors got a 95.5%. So the colors that we chose were chosen by 95% of the participants in the thing. We had 3 different designers. We had A.E. Urbia, and we had 3 different design companies on it.
Mm-hmm.
They've done Thanksgiving Point. They've done just a whole slew of different interesting projects that you've probably seen.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so the color, the stucco, the metal, the style, all were not chosen by us. It was just chosen by vote.
You had popular opinion vote, huh?
Popular opinion
That's
vote.
great.
Was historical nature of the design part of any of the selection process or review criteria by your votes?
What we went with, because of it being in Alpine, the A.E. Urbia and Kim Lamborn architects, they went with a Park City look, and they call it Mountain Modern. And Mountain Modern has rock, glass, wood, and steel. And so they thought that would match really well to kind of have a high-end Park City feel. And then we they gave us some ideas of, like stone and rock and wood and that kind of stuff. And so I thought I always like to take into consideration tons of people's view. And so we went out of control, and we hit 1,500 on our checklist. And
That's great.
So everything we took was a 75 to 85% vote. And then we kept narrowing it down from 10 to 5 to 2. And then we had everybody vote on the last two. So I think the colors look really fantastic together. Mountain Modern's kind of your Alpine situation on Main Street. We wanted it to fit really well with Alpine. I think.
Well, let's check out this video. Is this video going to show us more of a mock-up that will give us more in-depth insight into what it looks like? It gets really tough to imagine sometimes, these drawings.
Is the landscaping going to include a lot of pine trees?
I have in the landscape, I'll let you watch this first, then I'll.
Okay. Tell me when we see, is this what faces the street?
Okay, this is what faces the street right here. This upstairs, we had a tilt down roof, but these designers wanted to really make it high-end schwanky. So we flipped the roof up and it's gonna glow, and you'll see a wood underneath right there where he's pointing. It's gonna have a wood joist. It's gonna be really awesome. And then it's gonna have a light at the back of it, just opening, just gonna glow from the top. Pretty neat. That's probably the neatest feature that everybody liked, was flipping the roof up instead of having the roof down. This right here shows the garage doors on the second floor. It's kind of an interesting concept that we've never seen in any other facility, which we can flip these garage doors up, gets a lot of airflow. People that are on the mezzanine can look out those windows straight out over the creek into the trees. And then it has a killer view out the backside for the mountains. We took a drone and took it up to the level where people would be jogging and give you a view to see what it's going to look like.
This.
Is it working, Austin? Oh, there you go. So the style right here is just that's not a color, that's just a style. That's what most people like. Instead of just having ribbed straight up, they has kind of a ribbed and then a flat spot and a ribbed and a flat spot.
On the metal?
On the metal.
The metal siding. So it has like a texture to it like that.
Yeah, so Ezra Lee's is just ribbed. This is the latest, newest thing that just came out. And it kind of has a style to it rather than just ribbed. If you go to Park City, they have this on a lot of their stuff. This is walking into the gym. See that now, stop. Oh, shoot. I know sometimes you get stalled out, but see those windows right there?
Yeah.
Those are now garage doors. We had an original architect on this, and then it took like 8 months to get everything to make this property usable the way we wanted to make it work. And so in that 8 months that we waited to get all the little knickknacks finalized, we made some really neat new features. And so there's no garage doors on the bottom. We flipped them to the top. And so it would just big open holes there where you can look out over the creek and the trees. It's really beautiful picture, like a picturesque scene.
So Paul, you mentioned that the garage doors are on the second floor. I guess that there's not really a second floor, right? It's just.
No, there is.
Oh, there is.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a mezzanine.
There are 2 floors to his building.
Yeah, it's not a full floor. It's just a mezzanine. See the mezzanine up on that deck?
Yes, I see. Oh, nice.
It's not showing any mechanisms to get to these garage doors.
So when you look out, you'll be looking across right out the windows. That's probably the nicest feature of the entire building. We wanted to really take advantage of that view out the back because there's just nothing back there. It's just trees. It's like you're looking out into the forest.
Someone, Marla, for some reason, we can't hear anything that you're saying. Can you try again? Maybe. No, we still can't hear you. It's like really distorted. We can hear noise, but we can't hear your voice. Okay, it's not working. Go ahead. Okay. I can kind of tell what you're saying. If you want to go ahead and try, we can. I'm just saying I'm not seeing how the garage. Oh, shoot. Type.
She's not seeing a garage track.
Okay.
She's not seeing how would the
Right.
garage.
How will they open? Where will they go? If they go up, do they go out into the space? Do they go straight up?
One of the reasons why we didn't, the designers, they showed me this thing in Park City. It's just this really high-end gym, and they had them slide sideways into the wall. Do you see how it kind of pops out there?
Uh-huh. So they're pocket doors?
So they were kind of pocket doors, but we didn't really have the ability to squeeze it anymore. And then we came up with this really neat idea of, so there will be, we didn't want a track to come out into the space because we pocket doors and it was too expensive and too hard to do. And so instead of doing that, you would have had to have a track coming out into the space, would have looked really
right
dumb.
So where do they go?
If you go up upstairs in the ceiling, the track just goes right up into the ceiling, so it folds right up into the ceiling. So the track just goes right along those windows. This is an old view from 8 months ago. It's just we spent so much money on it that it gives you a nice view of what it's actually the actual footprint's going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
But
this was the initial depiction. So these are windows on here, and then he's now updated that to garage doors.
Okay.
So what you're seeing in the visualization is not the garage door.
It just kind of gives you a flow of walking in the facility. But when you go to the next pictures, you'll see actual. Sorry. The first one was an aerobics area, and then free weights, and then.
You're having your physical therapy in here too, I thought.
Yeah, I am. If you see those offices at the bottom down there.
Yeah.
Those are the treatment rooms, and then the open space area that's going to have 3 open treatment rooms. So if somebody's not doing anything that's private, where they like an ankle or something like that, they can sit out there and talk to their friends. And I went to Dallas, and there was a clinic where they had 7 treatment tables, and the patients were all just hanging out talking to each other, and I thought that was kind of neat. So we have both private and non-private.
Okay.
How many hours do you plan on keeping this open? I mean, is it going to be a 24-hour-a-day gym, or what are you looking at for that?
Since it's next to my house, we're open with 24 hours except for Sunday. We're not open Sunday. But when we go over there, no, I wanted to lessen the hours because I don't want to have people pulling in and out next to my house. I'm the homeowner next to this thing.
So that didn't answer my question.
But yeah,
so what do you anticipate?
We're gonna go from being 24 hours like we are now to limiting it. We're gonna like close it down at a certain time, like 11, 12 or something like that.
Are these 6 feet apart?
Well, I have a question for you. Now that you're on this side of the street and next to your house, will you be thinking of getting rid of your trailer billboard that you keep out there?
I mean, basically, maybe we'll get rid of the trailer.
Yeah, that's a valid question. We actually were we're bringing that up in discussing our sign policy because trailers parked with advertising on them and not moving is a point of discussion coming up. So just a thought.
we did. I don't know if Austin's ever told you, but like probably 3 or 4 years ago, we went to the city on this whole thing, and we got permission because we sell equipment, and so that trailer doesn't move unless we have equipment. I haul to people's houses. I've done like 28 homes in Alpine of different people's homes. So we did get approval about, I don't know, probably about more like 7 years ago.
Interesting. Yeah, the sign policy's up for discussion and renewal, so that's good to know. We'll look back in those notes. So my only concern, I love the materials. I think they're beautiful. I love the windows and everything. I'm not sure that I love the street facing look. I don't know how well that fits the guidelines that we've been given to look at. But I don't know, what does everyone else think?
I personally really like it. Of course, like John, I love the Ezra Lee building.
Yeah,
I think it looks
do
great.
too.
Considering what is currently on this piece of property, and it's been an impossible piece to develop. I honestly don't know how we could have. I think Paul's kind of hit a home run. I think it's gorgeous. I think it's beautiful. I think with the light coming out, I think it's a big improvement for Main Street.
That does definitely an improvement. Anyone else with comments?
This is Ed too. I agree with Alan. I think I really like it. Of course, I do like the Ezra Lee building also.
Yeah.
On it, and I think it's kind of novel that it's a triangular building.
Oh, definitely.
Just as a rectangle that's built there.
Mm-hmm. They said if it was a rectangular building, it would have been a lot cheaper to build, but because of all the requirements, just like you're building a rectangle building, but paying the price of a rectangular building, but getting a triangular building. But interesting enough, Ezra Lee and a whole bunch of people wanted to build this. We didn't end up going with them, but everybody wanted to be in on it because it's so original and in the triangle, even though the triangle was a pain in the rear end.
You were forced into it.
We were forced into it, but it made the whole thing look so awesome.
Yeah.
I agree. I think the elements make it feel, that mountain kind of rustic, kind of modern.
Okay.
Like the colors. I like it a lot.
Great.
I do too. I feel like Paul hasn't spared any expense. I feel like he could have made it a lot less money and it wouldn't be as attractive as it is. I think he's done really well.
Go ahead, Marla.
Monument sign.
Monument sign? What are your plans for signage?
We were going to, but I just don't want a monument sign next to my house. So I put it in and then I took it out because I figure this is going to be such an icon. I mean, it's my personal opinion, but like I said, 3 of the nicest designers in the state were on this. We personally trained them, and so I did a trade out with them. I didn't have the money to afford them, and I did a trade out with them. And this thing took 8 months, and so I manicured every square inch of this thing over 8 months, to Austin and Jed's dismay. But literally, we tweaked the bejeebies out of this thing to make every square inch of it to look just awesome.
Honestly, Paul, I'd just say you kind of knocked my socks off. I had no expectations that this was going to look this nice.
I agree with that. It's really wonderful.
We really worked hard on it.
I like it. I think it's a Park City kind of design element. It just doesn't comply with our ordinance. That's just what I mean.
As far as
we either need to adopt an ordinance that says we want to look like Park City, or we need to say we're trying to maintain historical nature. There's nothing historical about this.
Yeah, it's a challenge. That's the challenge of they came up with the historic gateway historic guidelines, but the interpretation and desire of people to, you have to kind of decide the interpretation of it, which, it's difficult. If you look through the guidelines, it's
Just FYI, what we did is we took elements of the what's the building at the roundabout?
Pine Valley Realty.
Pine Valley Realty, yeah. Took elements of that. If you look at it, you'll see some of the lines and the stuff look like that. A little bit, the new kind of thing is, well, for Mountain Modern, we thought, well, how do you get any more historic than Mountain Modern? And so Mountain Modern was, we looked, we saw like the State Farm building. It's like blaring white and red, and it's stucco, and it's, I love Eli. He's my State Farm guy, but it looks gross. And so I thought, man, it doesn't get any more. I wanted this thing to blend into the trees where, this thing is called a white elk. At first I was kind of like, are you guys serious? You want this stuff with moss on it and stuff like that? But it is just, it looks more, it just, it has browns, it has grays. I didn't want something, when I talked to people in Alpine, they said, try to find something that's less Art Deco that's going to go out, like black and white. Black and white's really popular. And so it's good for the historic gateway. So I was talking to Lon Lott, and I was talking to other people on this, city council.
So, yeah, I think that's great. I think that's a good point. Will's on the call. Will, how do you like it? Since you get to look out the window. Oh, Will's really sleeping. He's not really here. He just left his computer on.
We took features of Will's steel and windows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Kind of match in a little bit like that. It's not exactly like his building, but it has.
Well, I think everyone loves the work, the components of the design, but I do think that John brings up a good point, and that is that, I don't know, maybe we should review the Gateway Historic District guidelines and update some of the photos in them so that it can incorporate more of the modern design, but traditional elements or something like that. It seems to be a document that got created, and I don't know that it's really helping us any. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think John has an absolutely valid point that, and I could see him laughing, and I kind of had to laugh too when Paul indicated that, well, look, Mountain Modern is consistent with our historical guidelines. I'm really not sure that, Alpine's history and a Mountain Modern are necessarily, consistent one with another. But the point is that I think now that we have the Pine Valley Real Estate building in, right on the roundabout, and we have the Ezra Lee building.
Yeah.
Beautiful building. It's very consistent with those. I do happen to love, and I think that this sort of Mountain Modern look, it's something I think it will wear very well.
Yeah.
It's consistent with what's there, but John has an absolutely valid point that, well, what are we actually trying to accomplish with our historical guidelines?
Exactly.
At the same time, based on those historical guidelines, man, do we have some fugly buildings.
Yeah, exactly.
Right there in and around, jumbled in there with no consistency. It's just sort of unfortunate that
I think the document was too late. Too little, too late, because a lot of things like the State Farm building were already done by the time the document got done, and there's not a whole lot that you can do hindsight with that. But the concept was to try to at least control some things going forward. However, I think, how you say you can't mandate ugly. but this building is beautiful. And so definitely, I think that it's not like someone's coming here with a flat walled plain stucco building, which that definitely we would not want. And so, anyway, I just wanted to kind of, not to be really a pot stir, but I really did want to see, what do you guys think of that? And, there aren't a lot of buildings left to do, and just be thinking about what you think about this as far as almost like from a certain point going south where the buildings are all new versus a certain point going north where the buildings are all old, but could potentially be knocked down and redone. So anyway, kind of a side note, but
I think we want to look back and address that whole guidelines and let's go mountain modern.
Yeah. We may want, I think, why don't I bring that up with the mayor and ask them, hey, we're interested, or maybe you could do that, Austin, saying that, maybe we're interested in reviewing this Gateway Historic District guidelines. I mean, when they were made, there's a lot of discussion about what does historic mean? 1950s, 1910, 1850s? Like, what do you mean historic? And so I think the idea was kind of small town, rural, but I don't know that's, anyway, that's another discussion.
But also, if you really look at a lot of the homes that are going in now, especially up in Three Falls, Fort Canyon, up in the Cove, there's a lot of homes going in that this is consistent. It is hard to know what the standard is because there are just some really ugly buildings that have gone in, but
I know.
It's a good point, Jane, because sometime in the next few years, we're going to be looking at the development of both the Burgess properties and is it the Bangerter property?
Bangerter property.
And those are going to be, that's as you come into Alpine. And so what do we want those to look like? And my sense is that those probably will and maybe even should develop in an architectural sense that is more in line with what Paul is doing in the Pine Valley building.
And very important.
That's probably going to be a better, a better, more coherent, cohesive look for kind of an upscale mountain community. Although, as John said, that's really necessarily consistent with what our guidelines currently say about the historical district, and maybe we should revisit that.
And maybe the historic district should be a smaller area. Maybe it could be, I don't know. We just need to revisit that. And we definitely don't want, though, to have buildings that will 20 years from now, it will be like the ugliest building in the world because it's so outdated, So like, I think of like the 70s when everyone did those wooden buildings and wooden houses and everything, and then they were super dated.
We also tried to blend it with the surroundings. Like if you look at the cement fence on the opposite side of the creek for Mountainville, I actually went and searched out. It was expensive. It was Austin talked about having the paneled what's it called?
Panels.
The fencing panels. What are they called, Austin? You called it
concrete panel.
Precast concrete panels.
Yeah, precast concrete.
Got precast. We met the exact match of that the Mountainville Academy. So that way, when you're going from one place to the other, it's the exact panel with the exact texture with the exact color. And could have gone heck of a lot cheaper, but we went full on match expense. And then you talked about this screening is what you called it, Austin. So it comes to the front of the house, and then actually we do have bushes that are those burgundy bushes that will take it the rest of the way at 4 feet. That's what you asked us to do, and that's what we did.
Okay, great. Well, I think we better get moving on. If no one has anything that will affect the motion, other than our just a little bit of discussion there, we need to move forward. So any more discussion that applies to this motion?
Yeah, Jane, this is just Ed. I'd just like to say I think we do have to, go back and take a look at
but we want our Gateway Historic District because, I mean, it seems like to me, like the only historic building we ever quote is the old red schoolhouse. And I don't think we need more buildings that look like the old red schoolhouse being built, you know, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, to add to
Okay.
Ed's point, there really aren't any, I mean, most of the historic buildings that we have pictures of and stuff, they don't exist anymore. So
Right.
other than maybe like the Relic Hall, which is just north of City Hall, that was
Mhm.
dedicated by Brigham Young, by the way. But that
Mhm.
building, that's probably our only historic, real, true historic building that we have on Main Street.
Yeah, and we've had a few homes in the Moyle Park and things, but not on Main Street, not in our district area, so.
Our current building is to match the old rock church that burnt down in the 1800s.
Mhm. Yeah,
Red built our building after that.
yeah, no, yeah, those all actually represent different areas, so that's cool. That development, I think, is kind of cool that way.
Hey, let's just be happy that Paul didn't propose his fitness center with that crazy off-kilter red brick building that somehow or other got, got built whenever that was built. I don't know who did that. Somebody smoked a little too much before they did that brickwork.
Okay, Alan, I think that we should go for a motion. What do you think? Anybody up to a motion here?
Sure, I'll do a motion, Jane.
Okay, thank you.
I motion to recommend the approval of the proposed site plan for the Alpine Fitness with the following conditions. The developer sign a storm drain maintenance agreement for the property. The developer obtain a department permit prior to construction. Demolition permit, sorry. And the developer meet fire code requirements as outlined in the Lone Peak Fire Department review.
Okay, we have a motion by Ethan Allen. Do we have a second? Second by Alan McDonald. Discussion on the motion. Okay, let's go ahead and take a roll call vote. So John McKay.
Aye.
Ethan Allen.
Aye.
Ed Bush.
Aye.
Troy Slade.
Aye.
Alan McDonald.
Aye.
Sylvia Christiansen.
Aye.
Jane Greiner, aye. Okay, so that passes and we will move on to our next item.
All right, thank you guys. Fist bump.
Thanks. Can't wait to see something beautiful there.
Thanks.
Great.
How do I click out of that thing?
Next item is, we have a lot of items on the agenda. Public hearing for the Lambert Park East Building. Okay, let's hear public comment and review the plans for approval of the Lambert Park East Building. What, introduction?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take this. Okay, so if you look at your screen here, this is the south end of Lambert Park. So here's the stake center, water tank. Kind of zoom out here so you can, this is Lambert Park, the south end, horseshoes up here, and then the north end of Lambert Park and the rodeo grounds up here. So the location of this building that we're looking at is going to be just above this water tank up here, approximately in this vicinity. So let me just go ahead and switch here. This gives you a better idea of where it's located, more precise. And so you'll see here on this image that Jed has prepared, you'll see a couple different features here. So one is you see this fence here. So there is currently some fencing up there, but this would be a new fence that would be built right along the boundary between the forest land and the city land. Kind of to give you some background on this. So traditionally this area over here to the east has been an area where it's been used as a shooting range. So, going back for many years, that was an area where people would come and they would shoot. They'd drive their cars up this road here. We no longer allow vehicular access in Lambert Park, but back in the old days, you could drive your car up here, unload, and kind of shoot over in this area. That since has changed, and as Alpine has grown, homes have gotten closer to this area, and it's really not become a kind of a questionable area to have shooting going on. It is forest land, so it's not something that the city can enforce what goes on over here, but we do have control what goes on inside Lambert Park. And so the city council has been discussing some, some options, some possibilities to try and deter shooting in the area, to make it a safer area. And so, some of their ideas have been to kind of move a trail along the border here, to get a trail, get people, which seems counterintuitive, but the idea is you get people there and it's not safe to shoot near a trail. And also, by having a building here, there is a law that you can't shoot within 150 feet of a structure. So the idea is, we get a structure up here, it could help deter some of that shooting that's going on up there, and also at the same time provide kind of a new amenity for the park, something that could be there to, like, I don't know, would be like a rest spot, or who knows what it could be. But so really what we're talking about tonight is the location and the idea of having a building here. So we're approving the idea of approving the building location and having a building in the park. As a reminder, so anything that goes on in the park, any change to the park, has to be approved by the city council through a 4 to 5 supermajority vote. So 4 out of the 5 city council members have to approve any type of change that goes on in any open space owned by the city. And so as part of that process, we do have to hold a public hearing. And so the city council is really looking at this possibility, and they wanted to have a public hearing held and get the planning commission's feedback with regards to having this structure up there.
Okay.
Is it a restroom?
Let's see. I think Austin has frozen. Can you guys still hear me?
I can hear Jane.
Yeah, I can hear you, Jane.
Okay. All right.
It sounded like they didn't have a clear definition of what the building was from what he said.
If I remember, didn't they say they were just going to put like a map on it or something like that?
Yeah, they're going to use it. They're going to put a bench and some maps and things like that. And
I'm still here. I'm not sure what happened to Austin.
Jed, yeah, Austin's good. So Jed, do you want to give any further insight into that?
Honestly, we actually don't have a clear path of exactly what we want there currently, but the mayor's requested that we get something approved to be there. So that's really all we can say at this point.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so let's just go ahead with that. We're going to open the public hearing. So if anyone here has comments that they would like to make about this building and Lambert Park, now is the time to do that. So since Austin is not with us, Marla, do you know, are you copied normally on any emails? Or Jed, are you?
On which emails specifically?
Any emails that citizens would have sent in to comment on this public?
Oh, sorry, I'm not.
Okay, all right. Well, let's just see if Austin can show back up in our meeting here. He's not the meeting owner, is he?
Troy is now the meeting owner.
Troy is now, okay, so I'm wondering, so keep an eye on it, Troy, and I'm assuming he can join without permission. He must have one of the meeting, Zoom meetings where, it just turns it over to someone else.
Okay.
But I don't think anyone has to be admitted to the meeting, so just we'll keep an eye out to see if he joins us. Okay.
Are we live streaming that on YouTube?
Yes, we are. So does anyone in this meeting want to make a comment on the building here? Okay. Let me just see if I can find I closed my link to the YouTube channel. Let me get it back really quickly to make sure there's no comment there and make sure it actually continued to stream. That is a good point, Ed.
Let's do it in Modern Mountain.
Kind of is, don't you think?
The building.
Will's the only person left on here. So Will, do you have any comment? Oh, I see Alpine City coming back. Yay, there's Austin coming back to us. Hi, Austin.
You're on mute, Austin.
Oh.
Yeah, but it looks like he's just on his phone.
I guess you're on mute. Austin, we can't hear you. Nope, there you go. Now
There
you're
you go.
back.
Can you hear
Did
me
your
now?
battery die?
Yeah, my battery died.
Yeah. Don't you hate that? Do you have any emails from people on this item for the public hearing?
No, we have no emails for this item, so.
Okay. And I accidentally closed my YouTube link. And so I don't know if there was any comment online. So let me see if I can pull that up really quick.
I think I have it.
Okay, look at that and see. If you just go to Alpine City, there's a link on that you can click and go to live.
Yeah, let me pull it up on my phone. I just sent my daughters a link about an hour ago, so it's right in here.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna have to give Will a hard time. I think he signed in and fell asleep or left.
Yeah, he must have fallen asleep or something.
All right. Well, I
don't see any comments.
You don't see any comments. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead.
Was there any comments at all before?
No, no one has commented.
We haven't had a single comment all night. So
there's 2 watching, and that's me and who?
Well, I don't know. Me, I'm back on now, and so
probably the 2 of you.
yeah, we could probably chat. Okay, well, let's go ahead and let's close the public hearing with no comment, and let's get any commentary or a motion.
What are we being asked to
We're
do?
recommending the approval. We're recommending an approval of a proposed, let's see, how could I say it?
Proposed site.
Approval of the proposed site for a building in Lambert Park.
Okay, so Austin, did you say 150 feet? You can't shoot within 150 feet?
Right, and so the idea is that people will have to go farther off into the Forest Service land because it's becoming unsafe for park users right there and shooting nearby and everything. So with a building there, people who want to target shoot will have to just go 150 feet farther into Forest Service land to do that, which will make it safer for the park citizens, people there. And also we were having problems with people driving their truck up there and littering and leaving campsite and garbage and everything like that. So,
TVs and couch.
yeah, so exactly. So they're hoping that this will become more of a clean shooting range, which is a permitted use in the land. It's not a problem, but without the car access and with having to go farther in, we're hoping it will be cleaner and better maintained and safer for the citizens.
So Jane, I would like to make a motion to, this is Ed Bush. I motion to recommend that the proposed site for a new building in Lambert Park be approved as proposed.
Okay, motion by Ed Bush. Do we have a second?
I'll second it, Troy.
Second by Troy Slade. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, let's go vote. John McKay,
Aye.
Troy Slade,
Aye.
Ed Bush,
Aye.
Ethan Allen,
Aye.
Alan McDonald,
Hey,
Sylvia Christiansen,
Aye.
and Jane Greiner, aye. Okay, so that passes, and let's just move on to our next item then. And the next item we have is a public hearing on Healy Park. There's a new playground, pavilion, and pickleball courts being proposed. And we want to hear public comment on this and review the plans for approval. So who, do you want Jed to do that?
Let's have Jed. Yeah, he's been kind of, well, yeah, for 2 reasons. I don't have my computers down for right now. And then he actually designed most of this. So he'd be the best person to talk about
All right,
it,
so we can take it all out on him if we don't like it.
There you go.
Hey, Jed.
In that case, let me see if I can share my screen here. I'll try that one. So what is being proposed? The city council has had requests. Yeah, that's weird. I'm drawing dots on my screen.
What mode are you?
Yeah, weird.
Oh, there, it's starting to zoom out. So the city council has had requests for new pickleball courts around the city, and Healy Park is just one of the locations that we thought we could make this happen. And so here's kind of the overall view of Healy Park. There's Healy Park. This is where we just put in a new parking lot north of the church up there. Smooth Canyon is just barely off that picture here off to the southeast side. So yeah, this just kind of gives you an overall of where the park is, and the improvements would be that we are proposing are on the north side of that park. I like this image because you can see the soccer lines that are painted on the field there, and you can see that where we're proposing to put the pickleball courts does not interfere with that. And so over here you get a little bit more zoomed in view. So what we're proposing is, as you can see, 4 pickleball courts. We'd like to put a pavilion right here. There's an existing bathroom that is right off the west side of this parking lot that sits right there. And there's also there will be an existing dumpster right there. So we're proposing to put in a pavilion right there, as well as a playground right by it, so people can have good, easy access to both the dumpster and the bathrooms. And honestly, that's about it. It's a pretty simple design and should be fun to build.
So my problem with it is the parking, because I live on High Bench, and I drive past there all the time when in Healy Park, there's soccer players, and they never, probably I've never seen the parking lot full, but at the Healy Boulevard is always full.
So this parking lot was finished after soccer season this year. So I hope that changes next year.
Yeah.
The only reason that parking lot was built was because of the complaints of people not parking where they should be parking up there.
Yeah.
And hopefully by putting the amenities to the north end next to the parking, it would encourage people to park up there.
That will, yeah. But the people that come and pick up there and drop off their kids for soccer, they park in the church parking lot facing the soccer field, and then also on Healy Boulevard.
Yeah. Well, Sylvia, that's something that we can bring up in city council. There's been a lot of discussion because of the parking problems down by the junior high and the football games down there. And the police have gotten involved, the safety department, and they're definitely discussing ways of controlling this street parking we have going on, and making it safer and encouraging people to use the correct parking, as well as controlling, over scheduling of fields that cause problems. And so hopefully that will
I guess my concern is, can we support this park if the church withdraws parking? If the church facilities withdraw our parking privileges like they did up at Lambert.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. What parking, doesn't this have another proposed parking lot that mirror images what we have?
Not in Healy Park, but in the Smooth Canyon.
Oh, I'm thinking of Smooth Canyon. Yeah. You're right. Yeah, I see what you're saying here. So this is just a parking lot for that one area. Okay.
So probably everybody that's using the pickleball courts would use that parking lot, the new Healy parking lot.
Oh yeah. But does the city have an agreement with the church to use their parking lot?
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
So it's fine unless the church chooses to specifically state that it can't be used.
I wouldn't say it's fine at all for them to park in the church parking lot at this point.
Right.
I think the church's position has always been that they don't want to assume the liability that comes with parking.
Yeah.
So we've done what we can in this location.
Right.
We had a proposal to build a parking lot in Smooth Canyon Park, but the same residents who complained about too many people parking on the street then complained that
they were getting a parking lot.
Yeah. So that one kind of died. I'm not sure if it's going to be
that's too bad
or not, but
yeah.
Anyway, I hope that one comes back.
Yeah, I think we've done the best we can do for the time being.
And it's always an issue. The Alpine reception center, how they came to us and they had assured us that they had more than enough parking and that they had gotten a lease from the parking for the buildings next to them. So I don't know where everybody parks. It's just like the purple parking lot is full anytime their events are full, and the rest of the people are at the church house. So
Yeah.
there's only so much you can do to control it, but as long as it meets the ordinances and stuff, that's about all we can do. So, any other comment on this?
Yeah, I was going to mention, we talked about the church restricting parking up at the Lambert Park area, and that was mostly due to mountain bikers because there was an overlap of teams parking in the parking lot and then church meetings occurring at the same time, and there was not parking entries to the building.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, hopefully we won't have full high school teams, like 3 high school teams of mountain bikers show up at this place at once. So should be a little better. It's not a very big park. Any other comments? Let's see, did I close the public hearing? I think I did. Did I open a public hearing? I didn't. Okay, we're gonna open a public hearing on the Healy Park improvements. Do we have any emails on this one?
1 second, let me check.
Okay, emails. I don't see any comments on YouTube. Anyone in the meeting that would like to comment? Bill, still no comments. Okay.
Okay, we don't have any comments on this either.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing, and we will move to discussion and a motion. Does anyone have any more points they would like to discuss? Okay, let's move to a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion, I guess.
Okay.
I motion to recommend that Healy Park updates be approved with the following well, there's no conditions. We'll just recommend they be approved.
As proposed.
As proposed.
Okay, we have a motion by Ethan Allen. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, a second by Ed Bush. Any discussion or clarification? Okay. Sylvia? Christine?
Nay.
Did you say yay or nay?
I said nay, with the
Nay.
N.
N,
Because
okay.
of the parking.
Troy Slade,
Aye.
Ed Bush,
Aye.
Ethan Allen,
Aye.
Alan McDonald.
Aye.
Who have I missed here?
John-
John Kay
Aye.
and Jane Greiner, aye. Okay, so that passes. And we will move on to the next portion of our meeting, which is communications. Does anyone have communications? I just want to go ahead.
I have one communication for everyone. So in the upcoming meeting, we're gonna be taking a look at the calendar for 2021. So I know that the Planning Commission, a couple of the dates fall pretty close to some holidays. For example, there's July 6th, it would be a Planning Commission meeting, which is pretty close to July 4th. We have a meeting that could potentially be on September 7th, which is Labor Day weekend. And then there's another one on October 19th, which is fall break. So anyways, I just wanted to get that out there so you guys can start thinking about the calendar for next year. And then as we look at that in our next meeting, we can finalize what dates we want to have our meetings on.
Do we know if we're having Alpine Days this 2020? Does anybody know?
We hope so.
I believe we're planning to have it so far, so we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Who knows? Never say. I mean, a year ago, Sylvia, to even think that we wouldn't have had them, it was a dream.
I know.
In our wildest dreams. So who knows what month by month will happen. We'll just wait and see.
Okay.
My question to Austin was, did they hold the hearing for the appeal on that last Thursday?
Yes. So Thursday.
I forgot to watch it. Can you give us a quick summary?
I can kind of give you a recap. So yeah, Thursday was the hearing. It was with a hearing officer because of the new mandate from the governor. It was all done electronically. So each side got to present their case. That it was actually, it's 2 appeals, so it wasn't just 1 appeal. So they were appealing 2 different things. The first appeal was concerning the fact that the Alpine City staff denied their application because it didn't meet our general plan. And so they were appealing that first decision, and then they were appealing the second decision, which was the city council's denial of their plat amendment, which was the meeting that took place in, I believe it was in June.
Right.
So that they had a hearing on both of those items. Each side presented their case. It was based on the records. So what that means is it was only things that we actually have a record of. So like minutes from meetings, actual documents and that kind of stuff. So they had to base their arguments on actual official records that the city has. And so each side presented their case. The hearing officer did not make a decision in that meeting. He has up to 30 days to make a decision. And so right now we're just waiting to hear back on that. And his decision is forthcoming. And then going from there, from what he decides, there will likely be an appeal from either the city or from the developer, and which means it would go to district court, would kind of be the next step. So that's kind of what's anticipated is going to happen, is one side or the other is going to appeal depending on who loses. And yeah.
For the record, who is they?
So they is the developer Blue Bison, who owns the Summit Point plat subdivision, which is a 4-lot subdivision on the northwest corner of town.
Thank you.
So they've done the initial construction on the road, but they're just still trying to get the plat amended. Is that the idea?
Yeah. So the current plat is approved for a 4-lot subdivision with a private driveway to access the 4 homes. And what the developer wanted to do was actually build a city street, connect it to Lakeview Drive, and then connect that into Draper, with either with an actual road or with a secondary access emergency connection. So.
But Austin, our understanding was they were moving forward with the approved subdivision. And that true?
They did some construction up there earlier this year on their intention was to do it with the 4 lots that are approved up there with the private driveway. However, they did start working on that, and then they decided, what if we just take our bulldozer and keep going westward? And so they actually did start to grade a road to Draper, which was not approved, and it did get red tagged by the city.
Okay.
So the road that they were building was was it the city width, or was it the private driveway width?
So they are approved to do a private driveway width, and I don't know what the width is of that road that they started to construct towards Draper. I don't know.
But they did continue beyond the private driveway length.
Yeah, they went beyond the scope of the approved plat on the work that was done up there, and so we had to the city reg tag that and stopped work on that.
Okay. Well, thank you for the update. That helps us if anything comes back to us. So any other communication?
That was a very interesting meeting to sit on. I made a bowl of popcorn and.
Was it recorded?
It was recorded. You can actually go watch it on our YouTube channel.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know,
because I wasn't able to watch it right now. Yep.
Okay. Thanks, Ed, for the tip. Popcorn and a drink before we started.
One of the things I got out of is how important the minutes were. And I just would recommend that everyone, when the minutes come out, just go back and make sure that you're quoted correctly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because you can be held for what you say.
Yep. Very good. Good point. Which segues into the next thing, which is approval of planning commission minutes. So would someone like to, does anyone have any changes that they want made, or have any comments or approval of the minutes that they could make a motion for?
I'll make a motion to approve them if nobody has any changes. I make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 20th, 2020 Planning Commission.
Okay, wow, that's a mouthful. Okay,
As
motion by
presented.
Sonia. A second.
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Troy Slade. Okay, all in favor, we can just do a one big aye here. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Any opposed? Okay, unanimously is approved. Now I need a motion to end the meeting.
This is Ed Bush. I motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Do I have a second?
second.
Okay, second by Al McDonald. Do we have to vote on that? All in favor? Aye.
We do.
Okay,
Aye.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Meeting,
Nobody's opposed.
no one's opposed. We're on our way home.
Meeting adjourned.
Okay, thanks everyone.
All right.
Appreciate your help. I'm glad we got a lot done because we hadn't been able to meet because of the election. And so we had a rather full agenda. So thank you very much. Okay, bye everyone.
Thank you, Jane. Bye.
Night.